Planning for disasters when you're implementing a backup and restore strategy, in essence, involves knowing what kind of things might happen or are likely to happen, and then, of course, trying to figure out ways that you can mitigate or protect yourself against those risks. Now, it's impossible to consider every possible alternative when it comes to creating a disaster recovery plan, but you do need to be aware of the common things, of course. And the types of disasters that virtually every environment is prone to face, certainly the operating system crashing. That absolutely happens on any system from time to time. They're fairly reliable, but you just never know. The operating system itself, whether it be Windows, Unix, or Linux, or anything, simply can fail. And in that event, obviously, all services on that system become unavailable. Power failure, that's pretty much beyond our control. Now, you can certainly implement things like uninterruptible power supplies or a UPS to protect to a certain degree against a power failure, but a UPS does not last forever. The whole idea behind a UPS is simply to give you enough time to gracefully shut down all of the servers and services that are running, because nothing in the IT world likes just instantly shutting down. So UPS does give you that time. It might still provide power for a couple of hours, maybe several hours. It depends on what you're drawing from it. But at the end of the day, they're just big batteries, and they aren't going to last throughout a power failure that lasts all night or possibly even for days. File system crash. In this case, it's not the operating system itself, but maybe just the file system and or, of course, the associated hardware that might be supporting that. So you might absolutely just lose hard drives, or maybe your connection to your SAN. Obviously anything. Any kind of hardware problem is going to happen in virtually every environment, and clearly this can interfere with accessing your database. So you need to take as much as possible into consideration and think, well, this might happen. What can we do to protect ourselves against that particular problem? Now, there's a couple other ones even beyond that. You might lose your entire site. The whole building could burn down. Your entire office might crumble in an earthquake, things like that. So those natural disasters obviously do need to be taken into consideration, particularly considering where you live. If you are in an area that's much more prone to forest fires or earthquakes, then that really has to be taken into consideration. So an awful lot can happen, clearly. But in most environments, they don't happen every day by any means, but you need to ensure that your disaster recovery plan does list, well, here's all the things that we might be facing. So what can we do to protect ourselves in the event that one of these does happen, and how severely does it affect your environment? And in most cases, it's how rapidly can we recover from it. Now, obviously that depends on the severity. You might recover from a power failure in minutes if the power comes back on. If your entire building burns to the ground, obviously you're not going to recover within minutes. But there are some places that do have things like hot sites, or sometimes known as even warm or cold, depending on how ready they are to go. But if you do have another site and your primary site completely goes down, you may still be able to continue servicing application requests from wherever, from your other site. So these are the kind of things that you need to have, and overall, this is referred to simply as redundancy. More than one point of failure, whatever that is, whether it's a single piece of hardware or an entirely independent or autonomous site, you've got another means to continue operating. Now, obviously that varies from environment to environment, but they're all things that should be considered and implemented as best as possible when planning for disasters.